The conference room floated in the dark between stars, a neutral station where neither the Vraxian Dominion nor the Kelthara coalition could claim advantage. Ambassador Jinseo Park stood by the large window, watching ships from both empires hold position at opposite ends of the station. They had been at war for 107 years. She had been trying to broker peace for 12. "They will never agree," said Ambassador Thexron of the Vraxians, his insectoid body clicking as he approached. His translator rendered his words in perfect English. "The Kelthara demand we surrender 3 systems. We demand they acknowledge our historical claims. It is impossible. 1-3 way. We do not." "The Kelthara demanders of import for." Jinseo turned to face him. The Vraxian stood nearly 8 feet tall, his armored carapace gleaming under the station lights. His species had conquered 40 worlds before joining the galactic community. They were warriors, born and bred. "Nothing is impossible," Jinseo said calmly. "You both lose thousands of soldiers every month. Your economies are collapsing. Your people are tired, perhaps," Thexron said. "But we are not soft like humans. We do not break." Jinseo had heard this before. To the Vraxians, humanity's refusal to take sides made them weak. The humans had joined the galactic community 80 years ago, and in all that time, they had never fired a shot in anger. They traded with everyone. They healed the wounded from both sides. They took in refugees. They mediated disputes. The galaxy saw them as useful, moral, principled, but not dangerous. "I do not ask you to break," Jinseo said. "I ask you to bend. There is honor in choosing peace." Before Thexron could respond, the station's alert system chimed. Jinseo's communication pad buzzed with an urgent message. She read it quickly, her expression tightening. "What is it?" Thexron asked. "A new fleet has entered the sector," Jinseo said. "The Kryn hierarchy." Thexron's antennae flattened against his head, a sign of concern. "The Kryn have been expanding in the outer regions, but they have stayed away from council space. Until now," Jinseo said. Across the station, Captain Hana Choi received the same alert aboard the UES Horizon. Her ship was technically classified as a hospital vessel, designed to provide medical aid in war zones. She had spent the last 5 years moving between battle sites, treating wounded soldiers from both the Vraxian and Kelthara forces. "Captain, we're receiving a general broadcast," her communications officer said. "The Kryn are transmitting to all council members." "Put it on screen," Hana said. The face that appeared was reptilian but different from the Kelthara. The Kryn had harder features, with ridges of bone armor across their skulls. This one wore the markings of high rank. "I am War Prince Thexian of the Kryn hierarchy," the alien said. "For too long, we have watched the council worlds tear themselves apart in pointless conflict. The Vraxians and Kelthara destroy each other while pretending to be strong. This chaos ends now." Hana leaned forward in her chair. Around the bridge, her crew fell silent. "The Kryn hierarchy will bring order to this region," Thexian continued. "All council worlds must choose. Submit to Kryn authority, or face the consequences of your weakness. You have 30 standard days to decide." The transmission ended. "Captain?" her first officer asked. "What do we do?" "Continue our mission," Hana said quietly. "We're here to help the wounded. Politics is someone else's job." But she felt a cold weight in her stomach. The Kryn were different from the Vraxians and Kelthara. Those two fought each other. Yes, but they followed rules. They had honor codes. They avoided civilian targets when possible. The Kryn had no such reputation. Back on the neutral station, the emergency council meeting had already begun. Representatives from 15 different species crowded into the chamber. Ambassador Jinseo sat in the human delegation's seat, listening as the others argued. "The Kryn are bluffing," said the Kelthara ambassador. "They do not have the strength to challenge the entire council. They have been building their forces for decades," countered a Vraxian general. "While we fought each other, they prepared. This is our fault. Farther. Then perhaps we should negotiate, suggested another delegate. Find out what they really want. Jinseo activated her microphone. The Kryn gave us an ultimatum, not an invitation to talk. They see the council as weak because of the war. They think we will fracture and fall. And what would Earth suggest? Asked the Kelthara ambassador. You humans always preach peace. Will you preach peace to the Kryn as well? Gren. 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 We will do what we have always done. Jinseo said. We will remain neutral. We will offer humanitarian aid to any who need it. We will not choose sides in another war. Even if the Kryn attack you? Jinseo met his multifaceted gaze. We are not part of your conflict. The Kryn have no reason to target Earth. The meeting continued for hours, but reached no conclusion. The council was divided. Some wanted to unite against the Kryn threat. Others wanted to negotiate. A few even considered accepting Kryn authority in exchange for peace. Jinseo returned to her quarters exhausted. She poured herself tea and sat by the window, watching the distant stars. Earth had stayed out of the Great War deliberately. Her government believed that taking sides would only perpetuate the cycle of violence. Better to stand apart, to serve, as an example of a different way. But she wondered if the galaxy saw their neutrality as wisdom or cowardice. 3 days later, the Kryn sent another message. This one was directed specifically at Earth. War Prince Thexian appeared on screens across human space. People of Earth, he said, you have built a reputation as peacemakers and healers. The Kryn hierarchy respects your humanitarian efforts. But neutrality is no longer an option. The galaxy is changing. Choose to join us, and your people will be valued members of the new order. Refuse, and you will be treated as enemies. Jinseo watched the broadcast from her office on the station. She immediately sent a message to Earth's government, recommending they maintain their position. The response came quickly. Earth's position remains unchanged, the message read. We do not accept ultimatums. We do not choose sides. We will continue our humanitarian mission regardless of external pressure. When Jinseo transmitted Earth's response to the Council, she saw a mixture of reactions. Some species nodded with approval. Others looked concerned. The Vraxian general simply shook his head. Your people have courage, he said. But courage without strength is just a pleasant way to die. Jinseo wanted to argue, but she stayed quiet. What could she say? Humanity had never fought a major war in galactic space. They had defensive fleets, yes, but nothing compared to the military forces of the Vraxians or Kelthara. On paper, they were exactly what the galaxy thought. Peaceful, principled, and ultimately, harmless. She hoped that would be enough. Far away, on a human colony world called New Jeju, farmers were bringing in the autumn harvest. Children played in the fields, while their parents worked. The settlement had been there for 20 years, home to 40,000 people who had never seen war. Above the planet, defense satellites kept watch. But they were designed to track asteroids and space debris, not military vessels. When the Kryn fleet arrived, it took them completely by surprise. The attack began at dawn. The first missile hit the central processing plant, where farmers stored their grain. The explosion was visible from orbit, a bright flash that turned the building and everyone inside into dust. The second and third missiles followed immediately, targeting the school and the medical center. Commander Park Jae-min was in the small orbital defense station when the attack began. He watched in horror as his screens filled with incoming Kryn vessels. His station had 6 small defense platforms, designed to destroy space rocks, not warships. Get emergency broadcasts out now, he shouted to his crew. Tell everyone to get to the shelters. But there were not enough shelters. New Jeju was a farming colony, peaceful and open. The underground bunkers could hold maybe 5,000 people. The rest would have to survive in their homes or barns or wherever they could hide. The Kryn bombardment was methodical. They circled the planet, destroying infrastructure with precision. Power plants, water treatment facilities, communication towers. They were not trying to kill everyone immediately. They were making a statement. War Prince Thexian himself broadcast from his flagship. Let the galaxy see what happens to those who refuse the hierarchy. The humans claimed neutrality would protect them. They were wrong. On the ground, a farmer named Song Min-ji pulled her 2 children into the root cellar beneath their house. She could hear explosions in the distance, getting closer. Her husband had run to help neighbors evacuate. She prayed he would make it back. The bombardment lasted 6 hours. When it finally stopped, 40,000 people had been reduced to 16,000. The survivors emerged from shelters and hiding places to find their world broken. Buildings collapsed, fields burning, bodies in the streets. Captain Hana Choi received the distress call while her hospital ship was treating wounded Kelthara soldiers 3 systems away. She read the initial reports and felt her blood turn cold. Set course for New Jeju immediately, she ordered. Maximum speed. Send word to every human medical ship in the sector. We need everyone there now. Her first officer hesitated. Captain, the Kryn fleet is still in the system. If we go there, we could be their next target. Hana looked at him steadily. Those are our people dying. We go. Now, the UES Horizon and 3 other human medical ships arrived at New Jeju 18 hours after the attack. The Kryn fleet had withdrawn, but they left behind surveillance drones to record the aftermath. They wanted the galaxy to see human suffering. What they recorded instead was human determination. Hana organized rescue operations with brutal efficiency. Her medical teams worked in 12-hour shifts, treating the wounded in makeshift hospitals. Engineers from the ships helped restore basic power and water. Security personnel searched through rubble for survivors. She found Commander Park at what used to be the colony's administration building. He was helping dig through debris, his hands bloody, his face covered in dust. Commander, Hana said quietly, I need a full casualty report. Park looked at her with hollow eyes. 24,000, confirmed dead. Another 6,000, missing. Probably dead. We have 4,000 wounded, who need immediate evacuation. The rest. He gestured at the ruins around them. The rest are homeless, but alive. Hana nodded slowly. She had seen war zones before, but this was different. These were not soldiers. These were families, children, old people, farmers who had never hurt anyone. We will get everyone off-world who wants to leave, she said. The medical cases first, then families. Start organizing evacuation lists. And then what? Park asked bitterly. We run? We abandon more colonies and hope the Kryn get tired of killing us? Hana did not answer. She did not know the answer. On Earth, the government held an emergency session. Ambassador Jin Seo attended via video link from the neutral station. Every major human leader was present, along with military commanders who rarely appeared in public. The Kryn have declared war on humanity, said the Secretary General. Not with words, but with action. They attacked New Jeju specifically because we refused their ultimatum. They want to make an example of us. Then we must respond, said Admiral Lee Sang-jun. He was old for a military officer, his hair completely gray, but his eyes were sharp. We cannot allow this attack to go unanswered. What do you propose? The Secretary General asked. A counterattack? We have never fought an offensive war. On one. No. Admiral Lee said quietly. But we have prepared for defensive war. And defense includes eliminating threats to our people. Jin Seo spoke up from her screen. The galaxy is watching. If we respond with violence, we lose our moral authority. We become just another warring species. With respect, Ambassador, Admiral Lee said. The galaxy watched the Kryn murder 40,000 civilians. Our moral authority did not protect New Jeju. It will not protect our other colonies. The debate continued for hours. Jin Seo argued for continued diplomacy, for bringing the issue to the Galactic Council, for economic sanctions. Admiral Lee argued for military action, for showing the Kryn that humanity was not defenseless prey. Finally, the Secretary-General made a decision. We will try diplomacy first. Ambassador Park, deliver a formal demand to the Kryn. They must withdraw from all human space, pay reparations for the victims of New Jeju, and submit their war prints for trial before the Galactic Court. Give them 72 hours to comply. Jinso nodded, though her expression showed doubt. The Secretary-General glanced at Admiral Lee. Then we will take necessary action to protect our people. Jin Seo delivered the message personally to a Kryn vessel at the neutral station. The Kryn officer who received it actually laughed. The humans make demands? The same humans who would not even choose a side in the Council war? Tell your leaders that the hierarchy does not negotiate with prey. The response was broadcast throughout the galaxy. The Kryn wanted everyone to see human weakness. Instead of waiting 72 hours, War Prince Thexian ordered new attacks. 2 human outposts in remote systems were hit simultaneously. These were smaller targets, research stations with only a few hundred people each, but the message was clear. The Kryn could strike anywhere, anytime. When the 72 hours expired, Earth's government broadcast a response. The Secretary-General appeared on screens across human space and to the wider galaxy. The Kryn hierarchy has chosen violence over justice, she said calmly. They have murdered our people. They have mocked our attempts at peace. They have demonstrated that they understand only strength. Very well. We will speak in a language they understand. She paused, and her expression hardened. The Kryn attacked our families. They believed we were weak because we chose peace. They were wrong. Humanity has stayed out of the galactic war not from weakness, but from restraint. That restraint ends today. War Prince Thexian and the Kryn hierarchy will answer for their crimes. The broadcast ended. Across the galaxy, people wondered what humanity could possibly do. The Kryn military was vast and experienced. Earth had never demonstrated any real military power. Most species expected humans would evacuate their colonies and retreat to their home system. They were all about to discover what humanity had been hiding for 80 years. Admiral Lee Sang-jun stood on the bridge of the UES Indomitable, a ship the galaxy had never seen before. Around him, dozens of other vessels were powering up systems that had been dormant for decades. Hospital ships reconfigured themselves, revealing hidden weapons. Cargo vessels shed their civilian disguises. Defense stations activated offensive capabilities. The peaceful human fleet was transforming into something the galaxy did not expect. All ships report ready, his operations officer said. Admiral Lee nodded slowly. Then let us show the Kryn what they have awakened. All ships, proceed to target. And may we never have to do this again. The human fleet moved out, heading toward Kryn space. The war had begun. The Kryn military base at Drakon 7 had stood for 30 years. It was a fortress world, home to 50,000 troops and a fleet staging area. The Kryn considered it untouchable, protected by overlapping defense shields and hundreds of weapons platforms. They had 12 minutes of warning before the human fleet arrived. The base commander, General Vex Thor, watched his screens in disbelief as 12 human ships emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of his system. They were not the hospital ships or cargo vessels the galaxy knew. These were sleek warships, bristling with weapons, moving with perfect coordination. Raise shields, Vex Thor ordered. Scramble all fighters. Send word to War Prince Thexian that the humans are attacking. Sir, his sensor officer said nervously. Those human ships, their energy signatures are far beyond what we estimated. They are reading as heavy cruisers, possibly battleships. Impossible, Vex Thor said. Human ships are defensive platforms at best. He was still saying that when the first human missiles hit, they were not like Kryn missiles or Vraxian torpedoes. They moved faster, maneuvered sharper, and their warheads punched through shields that should have stopped them. 6 weapons platforms exploded in the first salvo. The human ships followed up with beam weapons that carved through armor like it was paper. "Return fire," Vex Thor shouted. "All batteries, target those ships." The base's massive cannons opened up, filling space with energy bolts and projectiles. But the human ships moved like dancers, their movements coordinated by some unseen intelligence. They dodged, weaved, and seemed to know where each shot would go before it was fired. One Kryn shot did hit, striking a human cruiser amidships. Vex Thor felt a moment of satisfaction, but then his screens showed the human ship's shields flare and absorb the impact. The cruiser did not even slow down. "How are their shields that strong?" his weapons officer asked. Vex Thor had no answer. The battle lasted 17 minutes. When it ended, the Kryn base was a burning ruin. Every weapons platform destroyed. Every ship in dock disabled or vaporized. The base itself was cratered and powerless, but not a single barracks or residential building had been hit. 50,000 Kryn soldiers sat in the dark, unharmed but defeated, wondering what had just happened. Admiral Lee watched from the Indomitable as his task force completed its withdrawal. They had achieved their objectives with 0 casualties. "Broadcast a message to the survivors," he ordered. "Tell them they are free to evacuate to the nearest Kryn civilian world. Their base is destroyed, but we have no interest in killing soldiers who cannot fight back." His communications officer looked surprised. "Sir, we could capture them. They would be valuable prisoners." "We are not here to take prisoners," Admiral Lee said quietly. "We are here to eliminate military threats. Those soldiers are no longer a threat. Let them go home to their families." Similar scenes played out at 2 other Kryn military installations. Human strike forces appeared, destroyed the bases with surgical precision, and withdrew. In each case, they avoided civilian casualties and even spared enemy personnel when possible. The galaxy watched in shock. On the neutral station, Ambassador Jin Seo found herself surrounded by questions she could not answer. Representatives from dozens of species wanted to know where these human warships had come from. How long had they existed? Why had humanity hidden such power? "We did not hide it," Jin Seo said carefully. "We simply did not advertise it. Earth has always maintained defensive forces. We saw no reason to parade our military strength while we were working for peace." "Defensive forces?" the Kelthara ambassador said incredulously. "Those ships destroyed fortified Kryn bases without taking damage. That is not defensive capability. That is offensive power, on par with our own fleets." The Vraxian general, Thexron, studied Jin Seo with his multifaceted eyes. "You have been at our peace talks for 12 years. You have visited our military installations, treated our wounded, studied our tactics, and all that time, you had warships that could defeat us in open battle? We had warships to protect our people," Jin Seo corrected. "We still hope we will never need to use them against you or the Kelthara. This war is with the Kryn, not the Council." "But you could have ended our war," the Kelthara ambassador said. "If you had revealed this strength years ago, you could have forced us both to negotiate." Jin Seo met his eyes. "Would you have? Or would you have seen our strength as a threat and united against us? We chose neutrality because we believed in your capacity for peace. That belief has not changed." The Vraxians and Kelthara exchanged glances. They had spent a century fighting each other, assuming humanity was weak, irrelevant, unimportant. Now they realized they had been wrong about everything. Captain Hana Choi was still at New Jeju when she received new orders. Her hospital ship, the UES Horizon, was being recalled and reassigned. She protested immediately. "I have wounded people here who still need treatment. she argued over the comm link. You cannot pull medical resources out of a disaster zone. Captain Choi? Admiral Lee's voice came through clearly. You are not being reassigned to medical duties. The Horizon was always designed for multiple roles. It is time to activate your command systems. We. Hana felt her stomach tighten. She had known, of course. Every captain of every hospital ship knew. They were trained for this possibility. But she had hoped it would never come. Understood, Admiral, she said quietly. What are my orders? You will take command of Strike Group 7. Your mission is to eliminate Kryn forward operating bases in the Delta sector. Intelligence suggests they are preparing to attack more human colonies. You will stop them. Hana looked around her ship's medical bay, where wounded colonists from New Jeju were still recovering. She thought about the children she had treated. The families torn apart by violence. I will stop them, she said. Horizon out. She called her senior staff to the bridge. They all knew what was coming. The chief engineer began the transformation sequence. Walls slid back to reveal weapon systems. Medical equipment retracted into secure storage. The comfortable, well-lit corridors became darker, more efficient. Built for combat. All crew to battle stations, Hana ordered. Medical personnel who are not combat trained will remain on duty treating our patients. Everyone else, man your positions. We have a job to do. The Horizon and 5 sister ships departed New Jeju 6 hours later. Behind them, other medical vessels continued the humanitarian work. Ahead of them, Kryn forward bases waited, unaware of what was approaching. War Prince Thexian received reports of the attacks with growing fury. 3 major bases destroyed. His forward fleets disrupted. And the humans had done it without any losses of their own. How is this possible? He demanded of his military council. The humans are supposed to be weak. They heal the sick and feed refugees. They do not fight wars. Apparently they do, his intelligence chief said carefully. And they fight very well. Our analysts believe they have been building this fleet for decades. While we watched them play peacemaker, they were preparing for exactly this scenario. Then we will show them the cost of war, Thexian snarled. Order all available ships to strike human colonies. Not military targets. Civilian targets. If they want war, we will give them war. His intelligence chief hesitated. My prince, if we target civilians, the entire Galactic Council may turn against us. The Council is weak and divided, Thexian said. They will do nothing. And the humans will learn that their fancy warships cannot be everywhere at once. We will make them choose between protecting their military assets or saving their people. The orders went out. Kryn fleets began moving toward populated human worlds, targeting colonies far from military bases. It was a calculated strategy. Force the humans to spread their forces thin, then strike where they were vulnerable. But Thexian had made a critical mistake. He assumed human military strategy was like Kryn strategy, that humans would prioritize military objectives over civilian lives. He was about to learn otherwise. Captain Hana Choi's strike group intercepted the Kryn fleet heading toward the human colony of New Bergen 3 days after leaving New Jeju. The Kryn had 25 warships. Hana had 6. They outnumber us 4-1, her tactical officer reported. Recommend we call for reinforcements. No time, Hana said. New Bergen has 2 million people and minimal defenses. If we wait for reinforcements, thousands will die. She studied the tactical display, her mind calculating angles, vectors, timing. We do not need to destroy them all. We just need to stop them from reaching the colony. How, Captain? Hana smiled grimly. By doing what humans do best. We adapt. The battle began badly. The Kryn fleet opened fire at maximum range, and sheer weight of numbers forced Hana's ships to take damage. But she did not try to fight them head-on. Instead, she used New Bergen's own orbital infrastructure as cover, forcing the Kryn to choose between shooting at her ships or avoiding civilian installations. The Kryn chose to avoid the civilians, not from mercy, but from tactical calculation. They could not complete their mission if they accidentally destroyed what they came to attack. That hesitation was all Hana needed. Her ships hit hard and fast, targeting the Kryn ship's engines and weapons systems, not trying to kill, but to disable. One by one, Kryn vessels found themselves crippled, drifting, unable to maneuver or fight effectively. When Kryn reinforcements arrived an hour later, they found 12 of their ships disabled and the rest retreating. The humans had disappeared, already on their way to the next threatened colony. New Bergen was safe. Not a single civilian had died. The galaxy watched and began to understand. Humanity fought wars differently. They prioritized lives over territory, protection over conquest, precision over overwhelming force, and they were very, very good at it. The war entered its 6th week, and War Prince Thexian was beginning to understand the trap he had created for himself. Every time his fleets moved against human targets, they were intercepted. Every base he fortified was somehow breached. Every strategy he employed seemed to be anticipated before he could execute it. How do they know? He demanded at yet another emergency meeting. How do the humans always know where we will strike? How do the humans always know? How do they know? How do the humans always know where we will strike? His intelligence chief pulled up a holographic display. My prince, we have been reviewing the pattern. The humans know, because we taught them. For 80 years, their hospital ships moved freely through war zones. They treated our wounded. They delivered supplies to our forward bases. They were everywhere, and we never questioned it because they were harmless medical personnel. Thexian stared at the display, feeling cold realization creep over him. They were spying on us. Not exactly spying, the intelligence chief said. They were building relationships, learning our protocols, mapping our territory, understanding how we think and fight. And we welcomed them because they healed our soldiers and asked for nothing in return. Those hospital ships, Thexian said slowly, the ones that are now warships attacking our bases, they know every weakness in our defenses because they built those defenses' medical infrastructure. They know our communication protocols because they coordinated with our fleet operations for rescue missions. Yes, my prince. The humans prepared for this war by becoming indispensable to everyone else's wars. They learned by helping. 81. Thexian swept the holographic display aside with a violent gesture. Then, we changed tactics. No more military targets, no more bases. We go directly to their homeworld. We strike at Earth itself. His military council erupted in protests. That would unite the entire Galactic Council against us. The humans have defense fleets around Earth that we cannot break. It would be suicide. Thexian silenced them with a raised hand. Not a direct assault. We use weapons the humans cannot counter with their fancy ships. We use biological warfare. The room fell silent. My prince, the intelligence chief said carefully, the council banned biological weapons 300 years ago. If we use them, every species in the galaxy will declare war on us. Only if they find out, Thexian said. We have viral agents that are designed to affect humans specifically. We deploy them on their colony worlds. Their populations die quietly over weeks, looking like natural disease outbreaks. By the time anyone realizes it is an attack, it will be too late. His military council exchanged uncertain glances, but no one argued further. They were losing the war. Desperate measures were all they had left. The plan was set in motion immediately. 3 Kryn science vessels, disguised as civilian transports, began moving toward human colony worlds. Each carried viral weapons in concealed containers. They would seed the atmospheres, let the wind carry the pathogens, and be gone before anyone noticed. But someone did notice. Captain Hana Choi had spent 6 years building a network during her humanitarian missions. She had friends among the Kelthara and Vraxians, contacts in neutral ports, informants who owed her favors for lives saved or children healed. That network had become an intelligence apparatus without anyone realizing it. One of her contacts, a Vraxian medical officer she had once saved from dying of infection, sent her an encrypted message. It contained 2 words: plague ships. Hana immediately contacted Admiral Lee. "Sir, I have intelligence that the Kryn are planning to use biological weapons against our colonies. 3 vessels, disguised as civilian transports, are already en route. Can you intercept them?" Admiral Lee asked. "If the intelligence is accurate, yes. But sir, if we destroy civilian transports without proof they are carrying weapons, we will look like the aggressors. Then do not destroy them," Admiral Lee said. "Capture them. Board them. Get proof." Hana smiled grimly. "That is much harder, sir. Captain Choi, you have never chosen the easy path. I trust you will find a way." Hana's strike group intercepted the first Kryn vessel at the edge of the Helios system, home to a human colony of 800,000 people. The transport, calling itself the Peaceful Trader, refused to stop when hailed. "This is Captain Choi of the UES Horizon. Peaceful Trader, cut your engines and prepare to be boarded for inspection. We have credible intelligence that you may be carrying illegal weapons." "This is an outrage," the Kryn captain responded. "We are a civilian vessel protected by Galactic Council law. You have no right to board us. You are approaching a human colony during wartime," Hana said calmly. "That gives us every right. Cut your engines now, or we will disable them for you." The Peaceful Trader tried to run. Hana's ships surrounded it, using precision strikes to disable its engines without breaching the hull. Within 20 minutes, the transport was drifting helplessly. Hana led the boarding team personally. She wore full environmental gear, suspecting what they would find. Her team moved through the ship methodically, finding the crew locked in their quarters. Terrified. "We are not going to hurt you," Hana told them through her suit's translator. "But we need to search your cargo holds." What they found made her blood run cold. Canisters of biological agents, each labeled with deployment instructions. Viral weapons designed to spread through human populations, causing hemorrhagic fever that would kill within days. "Document everything," Hana ordered. "Full video, all serial numbers, all instructions. The galaxy needs to see this." She broadcast the evidence immediately. Every news outlet, every council member, every species in the galaxy received footage of Kryn biological weapons being loaded into atmospheric dispersal systems. The images were undeniable. The reaction was immediate and severe. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session. Even the Vraxians and Kelthara, who had fought each other for a century, stood united in condemning the Kryn. Biological warfare crossed a line that no one could ignore. "The Kryn hierarchy has forfeited any claim to civilized treatment," the Council declared. "They are hereby expelled from the Council and declared enemies of all member species. Any assistance to the Kryn government will be considered an act of war." Our War Prince Thexian watched his empire crumble. 3 more plague ships were intercepted and captured. Kryn trade was blockaded. Kryn allies abandoned them. Kryn colonies began surrendering to human forces rather than face their own leadership's desperation. But Thexian was not finished. If he was going to fall, he would take as many humans with him as possible. "We make our stand at the homeworld," he announced. "Bring all remaining fleets to Kryn Prime. Fortify every city. Place our civilians where the humans cannot avoid them. If they want to destroy us, they will have to kill everyone." His military council, what was left of it, stared at him in horror. "My prince," his intelligence chief said, "you are talking about using our own people as shields. That is madness. That is survival," Thexian said coldly. "The humans claim they fight to protect civilians. Let us see how true that is when our civilians stand between them and victory." Admiral Lee received reports of the Kryn strategy and called a meeting of his senior commanders. Captain Hana Choi attended via holographic link, along with 20 other ship captains. The Kryn have fortified their homeworld, Admiral Lee said. They have placed military installations inside civilian population centers. They are daring us to attack, knowing we will not risk innocent lives. Then we siege them, one captain suggested. Blockade the planet until they surrender. That could take months, another captain argued. And our intelligence suggests Thexian is unstable. He might massacre his own people rather than surrender, Hana spoke up. Then we do what we have always done. We remove the military threat while protecting civilians. It will be difficult, but it is possible. How? Admiral Lee asked. We go down to the surface, Hana said. Ground forces. We extract civilians from the military zones, creating safe corridors as we advance. It will be slow and costly, but it is the only way to end this without massacres. The other captains protested. Ground combat was dangerous, messy, unpredictable. But Admiral Lee listened quietly, then nodded. Captain Choi is correct. We will not win this war by becoming like our enemy. Prepare for ground operations. We will liberate Kryn Prime one city at a time if we must. The assault on Kryn Prime began 3 weeks later. It was unlike any military operation the galaxy had ever seen. Human forces dropped into cities, but instead of attacking immediately, they broadcast messages in the Kryn language. We are not here to conquer or kill. We are here to remove your military leadership. Any civilians who wish to leave the combat zones, go to the marked safe corridors. You will not be harmed. You will be given food, water, and medical care. Many Kryn civilians did not believe it at first. But when the first groups walked through human lines and found safety instead of death, word spread quickly. Thousands of Kryn civilians began evacuating from military zones, making it harder for Thexian's forces to hide behind them. The fighting was intense when it came. Kryn soldiers, many of them conscripts who had no love for their war prince, fought half-heartedly. Others, loyal to Thexian, fought desperately. But the outcome was never in doubt. Human forces advanced methodically, securing block by block, building by building. They took casualties, but they never responded with indiscriminate fire. Every shot was aimed, every target verified. Captain Hana Choi led one of the ground forces personally. She moved through a Kryn city, her team protecting civilians while engaging military targets. At one point, they found a group of Kryn children hiding in a school, terrified and alone. Get these children to safety, Hana ordered. One of her soldiers looked confused. Captain, these are enemy civilians. These are children, Hana said firmly. Get them to safety. Now. The soldier obeyed, and the children were carried to human lines, where Kryn medical personnel treated them under human protection. The battle for Kryn Prime lasted 8 days. When it ended, War Prince Thexian was captured alive, pulled from his command bunker by human special forces. The Kryn military was shattered, but the Kryn people, largely intact and protected by the same humans they had tried to exterminate, lived to see a new day. 3 months after the war ended, Ambassador Jin Seo Park stood in the ruins of New Jeju. Around her, construction crews were rebuilding the colony. Some were human. Others were Kryn, former soldiers who had volunteered to help repair the damage their war prince had caused. A young Kryn engineer approached her nervously. His name was Vex Lin, and he had been conscripted into Thexian's army at age 16. He fought in the battle for Kryn Prime and surrendered to human forces with relief. Ambassador, he said in halting English, I wanted to thank you for this opportunity. I know I do not deserve it. Jinseo looked at him kindly. You were a soldier following orders. The people who died here deserve justice, yes, but justice is not the same as revenge. You are here making amends. That is enough. Vex's Lin nodded, his reptilian features showing emotion that Jin Seo had learned to recognize. Shame. Gratitude. Hope. I cannot speak for all my people, he said. But many of us are grateful that humans showed us mercy. Another species would have destroyed us completely. Another species might have. Jinseo agreed. But we fought this war to stop violence, not to perpetuate it. Destroying your species would make us no better than Thexian. She watched Vex Lin return to work, helping rebuild a school. It was slow progress, but it was progress. The galaxy was learning that humanity meant what it said about fighting for justice, not conquest. On Earth, Admiral Lee Sang-jun appeared before the Planetary Council to answer questions about the war. Many people wanted to know why humanity had hidden its military strength for so long. We did not hide it, Admiral Lee said patiently. We simply did not advertise it. Every species knew we had defensive fleets. They assumed defensive meant weak. That was their mistake, not our deception. But why not reveal our strength earlier? A council member asked. We could have prevented the Vraxian-Kelthara war from lasting so long. Could we? Admiral Lee asked. Or would we have just become another target? Another faction for them to fight? We stayed neutral because we believed peace was possible. We proved that belief was correct. At the cost of 40,000 lives on New Jeju, another council member said bitterly. Admiral Lee's expression hardened. Yes, at that terrible cost. I think about those people every day. I will think about them for the rest of my life. But I also think about the millions who would have died if we had entered the galactic war decades ago. Sometimes the moral choice is not clear. Sometimes we can only choose between bad options and worse ones. The questioning continued for hours. But in the end, the Council approved Admiral Lee's decisions. Earth's military would remain strong, but it would return to defensive posture. Half the battle fleet was being decommissioned, converted back to civilian use. We showed the galaxy what we could do, Admiral Lee told his staff afterward. Now we show them that we only use that power when absolutely necessary. That is how we rebuild trust. At the neutral station, now renamed Unity Station, Ambassador Jinseo hosted an unprecedented meeting. Representatives from the Vraxian Dominion and the Kelthara Coalition sat across from each other, with Jinseo between them. It was the first serious peace talk they had held in 30 years. Gentlemen, Jinseo began. You have fought each other for 107 years. Millions have died. Your economies are devastated. Your people are exhausted. And now you have both seen what real war looks like when fought by a species with no restraint. The Kryn nearly used biological weapons that would have killed billions. Is that the future you want for your people? The Vraxian general, Thexron, shifted uncomfortably. The Kelthara started this war by... The Vraxian Raxian. The Kelthara started this war. I do not care who started it, Jinseo interrupted. I care about who will end it. Both of you have honor. Both of you have brave soldiers and suffering civilians. Both of you have legitimate grievances. But none of that matters anymore. What matters is whether you are wise enough to choose peace. The Kelthara ambassador spoke up. The humans have shown us something we did not expect. They demonstrated military power beyond anything we imagined. They could have used that power to dominate the galaxy. Instead, they used it to protect civilians and rebuild destroyed worlds. That is not weakness. That is strength we do not understand. It is strength born from restraint, Thexron said slowly. The humans could have destroyed the Kryn completely. They chose not to. They could have stayed out of the war and let us all destroy each other. They chose to intervene only when civilians were threatened. He looked at Jinseo. You tried to teach us this for 12 years. We did not listen. You are listening now, Jinseo said. That is what matters. Your war ends today if you are willing to compromise. Both of you withdraw from the disputed systems. They become neutral zones, administered by the Council. Neither of you wins, but neither of you loses. Most importantly, The dying stops. The negotiations took 3 more weeks. But in the end, both sides agreed. The century-long war between the Vraxians and Kelthara ended not with victory or defeat, but with mutual acknowledgement that continuing was pointless. When the peace treaty was signed, Jinseo allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. Then she got back to work. Peace treaties were just paper. Making peace real took much more effort. Captain Hana Choi returned to humanitarian work. But the galaxy treated her differently now. Her hospital ship, the Horizon, was famous. She had commanded it in battle and in mercy, proving they were not contradictory roles. She visited Kryn Prime regularly, overseeing medical programs that helped the planet recover from years of Thexian's tyranny. Many Kryn still feared humans, but more were grateful. One day, a Kryn mother brought her child to Hana's clinic. The child had been injured during the battle for the capital city. "You saved my daughter's life." "During the fighting," the mother said, "human soldiers found her in the rubble and carried her to safety. Why? Why would you risk your lives for enemy children?" Hana knelt beside the child, checking her healing injuries with practiced efficiency. "Because she is not an enemy. She is a child. That is all that matters." The mother's eyes filled with tears. "Thexian told us humans were monsters, that you would kill us all. But you are not monsters. You are better than we deserve." "We are not better," Hana said gently. "We simply remember what war costs. We have fought them before, long ago, before we joined the galaxy. We learned that winning a war means nothing if you lose your humanity in the process." At the Galactic Court, War Prince Thexian faced trial for his crimes. The prosecution was led by Kryn lawyers, with human legal experts serving as advisors. It was important that Kryn people hold their own leader accountable. Thexian showed no remorse. "I did what was necessary for my species to survive," he declared. "The galaxy was weak. Someone had to be strong. You were not strong," the Kryn prosecutor said. "You were cruel. Strength protects the weak. Strength builds and heals. What you did was not strength. It was cowardice, hiding behind weapons." The trial lasted 6 months. Witnesses from dozens of species testified. Kryn civilians spoke about their suffering under Thexian's rule. Human survivors from New Jeju described the attack that started the war. Through it all, Ambassador Jin Seo attended every session. She wanted Thexian to see her face, to be reminded of the people he had killed and the future he had destroyed. When the verdict came, it was unanimous. Guilty on all counts. Thexian was sentenced to life imprisonment, to be served in a high-security facility where he could never threaten anyone again. As he was led away, Thexian looked at Jin Seo. "You think you have won," he said. "But violence is the way of the universe. Peace is just the pause between wars. Eventually, your species will realize that." "Perhaps," Jinseo said quietly. "But we will take each pause we can get, and we will work to make each pause longer than the last. That is what civilization means." 1 year after the war ended, Earth hosted a memorial service for the victims of New Jeju. 40,000 names were carved into a black stone wall that stretched across a hillside. Representatives from every species in the galaxy attended, including Kryn diplomats from the new democratic government. Admiral Lee Sang-jun spoke at the ceremony. He was retiring from military service, having decided that younger officers should lead humanity's defense forces. "We remember these names," he said, his voice carrying across the crowd. "We remember them not to fuel hatred, but to remind ourselves why peace is worth fighting for. The people of New Jeju died because someone believed violence was the solution to every problem. They were wrong. Violence ended the immediate threat. Yes, but it is peace that will honor their memory." He paused, looking at the wall of names. "We did not seek this war. We tried every diplomatic option before raising our weapons. When we did fight, we fought to protect, not to conquer. We showed the galaxy that humanity's greatest strength is not our weapons or our ships, It is our refusal to become what we fight against. Captain Hana Choi stood in the crowd, listening. Beside her stood Vex Lin, the young Kryn engineer, and a dozen other former Kryn soldiers who had come to pay their respects. They wore simple clothes, not uniforms, and they had brought flowers to place at the memorial. "Thank you for coming," Hana told them quietly. "It means a great deal to the families." "It is the least we can do," Vex Lin said. "Our war prince started this, but your people ended it with honor. We are learning from that." Ambassador Jin Seo delivered the closing speech. She stood before the memorial wall, with the names of the dead behind her and the representatives of galactic civilization before her. "For 80 years, Earth stayed out of war," she said. "We watched empires fight, and we tried to heal the wounds they created. We believed that peace was always the answer. Then the Kryn attacked us, and we learned that sometimes peace requires strength. But we also learned that strength without mercy is just another form of tyranny." She gestured to the Kryn delegation. "The people who attacked us are not here today, but their children are. The next generation who will build a better future. That is what we fought for. Not revenge, not conquest, but the chance for tomorrow to be better than yesterday." Jin Seo looked up at the stars, visible in the afternoon sky. "The galaxy is watching Earth. They wonder if we will become another military power, conquering and dominating. We will not. We showed our strength once, when we had no choice. Now, we return to our work of healing and building. But the galaxy knows, and we know, that we will never be helpless again. And that knowledge, that certainty of protection, is what allows peace to grow." The ceremony ended with silence. 40,000 names on a wall. A promise that they would be remembered. A commitment that their deaths would not be meaningless. As the crowd dispersed, Jin Seo remained standing before the memorial. She placed her hand on the cool stone, feeling the carved letters under her fingers. "We stayed out of war as long as we could," she whispered. "And when we could not stay out anymore, we fought with honor. I hope that is enough. I hope we never have to do it again." Behind her, the sun set over Earth, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold. Tomorrow would come, as it always did, and humanity would face it the same way they had faced everything else. With hope tempered by hard-won wisdom and strength softened by compassion. The galaxy had learned what happened when the wrong foe challenged Earth. Now they would learn what happened when Earth returned to peace. The lesson, Jin Seo believed, would be just as important.